Condemned 2 was released in 2008 for the Xbox 360. At this point, Condemned Criminal Origins had garnered somewhat of a cult following, so naturally you would think that Monolith Studios would do their best to make sure that the sequel would definitely not disappoint the fans. So, with that being said, just how is this game? Well, you know the drill. Let's take a look and find out. This game starts off 8 months after the first Condemned. Ethan has quit the SCU and has fallen on some hard times. Just what are these hard times? Oh, you know. Heavy drinking, getting into fights, having more hallucinations than before, bleaching his skin, you know, stuff like that. At this point, Ethan had recently received a call from Van Horn, but refused to answer. Van Horn then contacted Rosa, who apparently has gotten skinnier and younger over the years, and at this point is still working with the SCU. The heads of the SCU suspect that Van Horn has been murdered, and feel that it would be in their best interest to find Ethan, as he knew Van Horn, and get his help to find Van Horn's body. At this point, they still have a special interest in both Ethan and Van Horn, but the reasoning isn't revealed until months later in the game. Rosa manages to track down Ethan and tell him that the SCU needs his help in finding Van Horn. Ethan reluctantly agrees and helps them with their mission. After raiding an abandoned hotel and finding Van Horn's body, he finds that the entire sternum has been ripped out. Sound familiar? Ethan, not trusting the SCU, for good reason, once again sets out on his own investigation with the help of Rosa. As you progress through the story, you will start to notice a few things. First, the outbreaks of violence in the city have greatly increased. Second, you will start to find strange sonic emitters scattered throughout the city. And third, Ethan will often have to fight off his inner demons. Literally. So, can Ethan find out why the city has gone mad, along with figuring out what the SCU is up to, while fighting off junkies and psychopaths and warding off his inner demons? Well, that's all up to you. Like the first game, the combat in this title heavily relies on you grabbing weapons at random to defend yourself. This time around, you will find many new weapons to use, but this new feature comes somewhat at a price. Each weapon in the game has the standard reach, speed, and damage like before. However, each weapon will disintegrate over time and eventually break. So the fights can get a bit more hectic and sometimes force you to use your bare hands. But this isn't as bad as you may think. Unlike before, this game is much more combat oriented. This time around, you punch with both hands or even kick enemies if you feel the need. And even better, this game adds combos. From just a 1-2 punch, to a charging attack, to almost everything in between. Also like the first game, you can also get your hands on firearms. However, unlike the first game, these weapons are much more prevalent. They don't take seniority over the melee weapons, but expect a few more flying bullets. Not to mention, you will also be handling some more heavy-duty weapons this time around. And even better, due to Ethan's alcoholism, you can drink booze to steady his aim while looking down the sights. I'm not entirely sure alcoholism works that way, but I'll let it slide. Along with just fighting, the crime scene investigation has come back full force. Ethan still has his standard tools such as the black light, camera, and scanner, but this time, you actually get to investigate. As you search for clues, you get to make deductions based on the evidence you find. You will get multiple choices as to what your answer will be, and depending on how well your deduction is, it will either help or hinder your investigation. Once you complete a level, you will receive a score based on how well your investigations went, how many radio and TV transmissions you find, and how many sonic emitters you destroy. You can gain perks for Ethan by just beating levels, or by obtaining a bronze, silver, or gold badge, which are given out depending on how well your investigations went. These perks vary from adding a spike on one of Ethan's hands, to adding a holster which allows you to carry 2 firearms at once, and much more. What's even better is that once you beat the game the first time around, you will unlock FPS mode, which allows you to play through each level with a firearm and never run out of ammo. Along with just the main campaign, there is also an online multiplayer, which I could not find a single game to join, and the Bloodshot Fight Club mode. In the Fight Club mode, there are 10 challenges to complete. These challenges vary from defending officers using only long-range weapons, to seeing how quickly you can defeat 3 enemies, to even a gauntlet in an electrified cage. After beating these, your high score will then be sent to the Xbox Live leaderboards. Now for the reviewing. The graphics in this game look absolutely fantastic. The character models look much more realistic, although the returning characters look nothing like they did in the first game, and the environments look much more detailed. Not to mention, you get to see much more variety in the environments than just the broken down city. You get to go to an abandoned doll factory, a hunting lodge in the mountains, a trash barge, and even a museum where you get to use medieval weapons. As mentioned before, the gameplay is also top-notch. The combat flows much more smoothly, plus the addition of combos and more diverse weapons make you feel like you stand much better chance in the fights. Now, the only aspect of this game that people will probably find a problem with is the story. The first aspect you will notice right off the bat is Ethan's character change. In the first game, he didn't really have much of a character, but you did get the vibe that he was a fairly honest and upstanding citizen who just wanted to do the right thing, even if it meant going above the law to do so. In this game, however, Ethan is a broken down, foul-mouthed wreck. Now, considering what Ethan went through in the first game, it should be expected that he would be fairly scarred, no pun intended, but some people may find this personality change a bit extreme. Although personally, I feel that Ethan's new personality adds much more to his character, and in some cases makes him more interesting and sympathetic. The second problem people may have with the story itself is the big plot reveal. Let's put it this way. Once you find out who is behind all of this madness and just what the plans are, you will probably either think one of two things. You may think that A, the first two games were just slowly leading up to a brilliant twist, or B, this series completely jumped the shark. But what do I think of this game? Well, oddly enough, my thoughts on this game are almost the opposite of what I thought of the first Condemned. While the first game was strong from a horror and atmospheric standpoint, and just okay from a gameplay and graphical standpoint, this game is pretty much the exact opposite. Don't get me wrong, there are some moments where the horror dial is turned up quite a bit, not to mention this game has some very effective scares. But honestly, at times it just seemed like they were trying too hard. So, in the end, if you have an Xbox 360 lying around and haven't checked these games out, I would definitely recommend giving them a try if you're interested in a slightly different horror survival experience. So until next time, this has been E-Dog. Still gaming until my thumbs are blistered and my eyes are bloodshot. Happy Halloween, everybody.